What's up, guys? If you're listening to or watching this, then you are about to hear a preview of one of our bonus episodes of the Aux, only available on Supercast. On Supercast, we drop 2 bonus episodes of the Aux per month, which is over 3 hours of premium podcast content, plus the full video version of the other show I host, the Auxoro podcast, where I sit down with athletes, scientists, creatives, and others to discuss the exciting work that they do. Go to auxoro.supercast.tech today to subscribe and join Auxoro Premium. Thank you, and enjoy the preview. All right,
that could be a good segue into the into the way that the virus was possibly genetically engineered in the lab.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
So we have the lab leak hypothesis versus the leak from nature hypothesis, and let's get into the evidence for the lab leak first. So this is, and we're going to link all the sources that we researched the week before. We're going to go through this like idiots, and we are going to try to get to the bottom of this global pandemic.
I noticed you said idiot twice already. Just make sure you speak for yourself there when you say that, and then we'll just proceed.
I'm speaking for you when I said that. I wasn't speaking for myself. I was talking about you.
Okay, that's fine. I'll accept that.
I mean, you can identify as anything now, so I identify as a PhD.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
So
this podcast
Julie,
is called
did you hear
PhD
that, by the
Matt
way?
and Idiot.
Yeah. What's that?
I said, Julie, did you hear that?
Shout out.
Is Julie here?
She's
Julie, come
filming. So the evidence for the lab leak, the first piece of evidence is, and let's say before, Dave, you had a good point that none of this is 100% yet. This is speculation. This is circumstantial. There's no hard evidence yet that this came directly from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This is what smart people that are actually working on these problems think, and I've said in public conversation, and we are going through a lot of it. And so you have
like doctorate microbiologists that are still saying there is a chance for lab leak, but also it has not been confirmed. So yeah, that is important to say that there may be something points in a certain direction, but nothing has yet genetically been confirmed, and that combined with some of the difficulty in entering in accessing information has made it difficult to know the exact answer. But
so
let's talk about what we know.
Let's say this rather than evidence. I'll say the first circumstance, the first thing that seems to be in favor of the lab leak is the fact that the lab in Wuhan was conducting a type of research called gain of function research and serial passaging. Mm-hmm. Gain of function is when you add things to the virus to make it more deadly, and you are doing this to understand the virus and prevent a future outbreak. So you're experimenting with the virus, you're adding characteristics to the virus, you're giving it functions, the virus is gaining function, and the hope is that you will be able to create something that you can then destroy. That if we create these monster viruses, we'll be able to cure it more rapidly and find a vaccine for it more rapidly should an actual virus like that escape for the future. The risk, of course, is that a virus like that, when you're studying it and you're not vaccinated against it and you're not in total control of it, it could leak from a lab. So that is gain of function research. And then there's also serial passaging, which is when you pass the virus through animals and tissues in a lab to speed up the evolution of the virus, and it learns to adapt more quickly. So serial passaging is, from what I understand, you take the virus, you add functions to it, you manipulate it, and then you'll pass it through animals in a lab, like mice, like ferrets, and instead of waiting for the virus to evolve in nature, which can take decades and often does, you speed up the evolution of the virus with a desired outcome in mind, but you aren't in total control of that as a scientist. So you're basically you're passaging it through these tissues, you're passaging it through these animals, and you're speeding up the evolution, you're turbocharging the virus, and that combined with gain of function research is what people think may have led to a big part of what may have led to the leak from that lab, and that was being conducted. Both of those types of research and practices were being conducted at the Wuhan lab of virology. This has been documented.
Mm-hmm. just yeah, and to add on to that, I have an article here that discusses the way in which they supercharge certain viruses. It said,
Yeah, what does it say?
It says you can says, quote, a microbiologist can increase the lethality of a coronavirus enormously by splicing a special sequence into its genome at a prime location. And what they found within this virus is a double CGG. So there's numerous combinations and likelihood of other types of combinations of amino acids that can be in that specific site that they're looking at for the spike protein. But this combination is often used in research when adding a gain of function to a specific virus. So they did sequence this specific coronavirus, and they found those repeats, CGG. So that it does add to possible evidence that this virus was manipulated.
What does that mean? It means that the CGG sequence has not been found in nature yet, and it is found in COVID-19. Is that the basis?
Yeah. So what this says here is CGG is rarely used in the class of coronaviruses that can recombine with COVID-2. And then, in fact, the entire class of coronaviruses that includes SARS-CoV-2, the CGG combination has never been found naturally. In coronaviruses, at least. I don't know about other viruses, but this says in coronaviruses, in nature, this combination has not been found naturally. And it wasn't found, from what I remember, in any of the wildlife stock that supposedly passed it to humans. So that
so this specific sequence hasn't been identified in nature yet. So this would be in favor of the lab leak because this sequence exists in COVID-19.
It would be in favor. It doesn't mean it's not from nature, but it has
we haven't found it yet.
And to add on to that, like I said, this gain of function splicing in genetic engineering is often used in research for adding increasing transmissibility and power of the virus. Yeah. So that does partially at least point to some type of lab engineering. Not 100%, but that's a pretty good evidence.
What do you guys think of the concept of gain of function research in general, where you're basically creating a much more deadly version of something that exists in hopes of possibly being able to defeat it in the future? What do you think of that concept of just gain of function in general?
I think we don't have. I'm not 100% positive on this, but the lab that was studying this virus supposedly in Wuhan was not using the proper the proper containment protocols for the virus. I think we've studied a lot of deadly diseases, and if in proper containment and following the proper protocols, it should be fine. But the U.S. did ban gain of function research, I think, in 2014, and there has to be a reason for that. It's allowed in other countries, but obviously, based on what just happened last year, we don't have technology everywhere in the world to ensure that a virus is not going to escape the laboratory and you don't even know what the gain of function is going to do to humans. Yeah, sure, it's developed within a mammalian cell culture in the lab.
Did you just try to use a fancy term on me to prove your intelligence? Mammalian cell culture?
Is this the first time you've used your biology masters?
I'm actually getting the Bluetooth information and directly from
Joe
the CDC.
Rogan talking to you?
From
Joe,
Bell?
yeah. Is the mammalian right? Oh, that's from Jamie? Okay. It's going Jamie to Joe to me.
So that's actually a good idea to have your own personal. If you had your own personal Jamie in your headset, so people wouldn't even know that you're Googling. They just think you're a superhuman, which I guess will eventually
that's
happen
Neuralink.
in the future.
Yeah, it's like a really old fashioned like Bluetooth headset, so it's just like gigantic on your head. And
well, yeah,
you're
like
what are you talking
what's
about?
that? Nothing. What's that? thing that's not on my head.
Matt
Yes.
has a friend in tech that can Google anything within 0.4 nanoseconds. Is that your friend?
Yeah,
Matt?
that's accurate.
Yeah.
I think that's accurate. I
Yes,
actually,
that's pretty-
I read this whole book on the Ebola virus almost outbreak, I guess, in the U.S. It is true. They have incredibly, both the CDC and the military have like facilities
Evidence
where,
that Jim Carrey started Ebola.
how did you know I was going to say that?
Yeah, that's what I was
That's what the whole book was about.
Ace Ventura, Gold Detective.
Yeah, Jim Carrey just went to the African jungles to prepare for his Ace Ventura role and was just fucking anything that moved in the tree line in the forest. He was everywhere, just being inside animals.
The whole thing was like leading up to you thinking it was like the apes that transmitted it, and then like the last 5 pages it said it was Jim Carrey. I was like, what the fuck
Yeah,
is going on?
turn of events.
No, but the CDC and the military have very like high level facilities for very high level viruses, and these people, they basically view it as they're risking their life. They're risking their life every single day going in here. So it's like I don't know how I feel. Like I would possibly, I think it's a negative to be creating things that could possibly kill you that don't already exist, but they're already dealing with things that could kill us that already exist. And if the facility is made to handle it, I feel like if it's like here, at least in the US, I know the CDC and the military are very on top of it. And there's so many protocols in place, like, to prevent anything from like escaping or like, I don't even know that I've never heard in the news of an incident anytime recently of anything like outbreaking out of a CDC or military. I mean, maybe it was covered up, but
here's my thinking. I can see both sides of it because we do this already kind of with nuclear weapons. We create weapons that we don't want spreading across the planet and people using it to blow itself up, but we do it just in case the technology appears in the future so that we know how to fight against it. And so we create these weapons that no one's using on us yet so that we can defend against it and use it to defend ourselves if we need to. So we do it with weapons. But like something about it doesn't make sense to me. Why put something out? Why create an evil in hopes of being able to stop that evil? Because the virus isn't evil itself. There's nothing moral about a virus. It tries to spread its DNA like anything else. Right. It's trying to survive, which is why it goes from host to host. But it causes destruction on humanity, and it causes all these tragic, the lives ending, suffering. It adds suffering to humanity. So why create something that can cause such widespread suffering in hopes that we may be able to cure it in the future? Because it's not even a guarantee that we'll be able to find a vaccine or use these in some sort of positive way. To me, at least, it seems like we're passaging these viruses through tissues, we're adding functions to them, kind of like a playground, and I'm not against having that playground element in science. I think it's important to be able to play around with shit and see what happens. But with something like a virus that can, within a matter of months, exponentially eradicate millions of people, why take that risk? There's something about it just doesn't make sense to me. The logic doesn't add up. Why create something in hopes of just destroying it? Why not have it, and why just not worry about it until we have to?
I think that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you could go.
I in this case, I think Fauci was quoted saying,
Wait, this is Biology Masters Dave Grosshold speaking.
This is
yes,
online.
Dave Grosshold, MS.
We should mention you're the most qualified person in this room because everyone else in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where we're recording this podcast, is dead. So you are now the most qualified person in the institute.
I did really enjoy my 1 month accelerated online masters in biology.
Yeah, you're the head of the facility now.
Yeah, I actually run the CDC.
Yeah, you're the dean and the only student.
Masters
the
David.
Wuhan CDC.
Masters David here. Masters David.
Yes. PH David.
Blink-182
podcast. Yeah.
We have PH David. And
He just goes his whole life
Yes.
thinking that's what stood for.
We're gonna think of a fucking awesome word every podcast, so that's the other one.
Yeah, we came up with Blink-182.